Hey there gamer, I'm Mr. North and I want to talk to you today about the new changes for the Scion Ascendant subclass that are coming up for the 3.0 Fall of Oriath Beta. It's been several leagues since we've seen a change to the Ascendant subclass, and as a result, we're in a long-lived no-Scion meta. For months now, the community has been clamouring for something sizable to be done to the Scion, giving the staleness of flipping between all Scion and no Scion metas, and GGG has finally announced a change to the Ascendant subclass tree. In addition to this, GGG has added an extra 2 skill points if you choose one of the fairly uncommonly taken path nodes at the end of the Ascendant skill paths, making them all the more enticing for crazy Scion skill trees. There's a lot to digest as nearly every node has been altered, buffed or nerfed in some way, so let's take a look at what's been changed. Probably the most improved node on the tree, or at least my new favourite, the Elementalist node has had a whole lot changed. An additional golem opens up the possibility of golem ascendant builds, although some shaper cheesers might get a little miffed at the idea of losing the golem elemental immunity that true elementalist golemancers get. This might not be a problem for all golemancers, as golems typically end up with sky high life pools and regeneration rates, and chaos golemancers didn't get that benefit anyway. Elemental penetration boosts and reflection protection are very welcome, as both are very uncommon or low value on the normal tree. But the loss of the flat reduced elemental damage taken sucks. The Elementalist Ascendant node was one of the few places you could previously find this bonus. An easily brushed aside gem here is the conflux duration boost. If you are clearing at speed, this is going to be on a lot, arguably almost constantly, and it's still the classic full elemental conflux. Not that watered down cycling variant that the true Elementalist gets, but ignite, freeze, shock, all day, baby. So long as you can keep killing those rares and uniques, that is. The conditional limitation does reduce its power considerably, and it's a huge flaw of the Ascendant class as a whole, but on an already interesting node like the Elementalist, this is just gravy. Skill effect duration is a great add given Scion proximity to the skill effect duration nodes on the tree. You can easily stack it to new heights. It's even comparable to the true Necromancer's total too. The aura buffs on this node initially looked great, but a second pass at the wording revealed to me that the Ascendant is never going to challenge a true Necromancer or Guardian for support roles. These bonuses apply once and once only, no matter how many auras you are running. The easily available on-kill frenzy charge generation has been replaced with the much more useful on hitting a rare or unique effect that the true Raider was celebrated for come the last round of Ascendancy changes. Bafflingly though, the Ascendant Raider only has a 10% chance of gaining a charge on hit, on a tree full of similar 10% conditionals that were recently buffed higher for being too low. However, if you're attacking quickly as a Raider themed build likely would, this should be mostly reliable. It just depends on how comfortable you are with mostly reliable. Onslaught at maximum frenzy charges is a great addition in my book. It's something different from the true Raider Ascendancy, whilst maintaining the theme of the Raider class. More Ascendant nodes should work like that. There's definitely an opportunity for Val Sparkers here, as the projectile speed bonus is back, and the damage on projectile travel distance bonus has been increased. If you can nab 20% pierce chance from anywhere else, then you can save yourself a gem socket or, more likely, a trip to the right side of the tree. The Pathfinder node has actually been considerably nerfed as well as buffed, losing some elemental status avoidance, a lot of flask charge gain, and reduced elemental damage taken. Boy, that stat is just vanishing everywhere, isn't it? In exchange, you get the fairly useful opportunity to refresh your flask through critical strikes. This is not as effective as it once was, given the changes to charge gain for flasks, nor is it as powerful as the Pathfinder's own variation of it, activating on only 50% of critical hits compared to 100% with the Master Surgeon node. Conditional and uninteresting movement speed and damage buffs round out the rest of this node. The boost in charge generation chance is nice, but also a little unreliable unless you're getting hit a lot. This node could be great for block builds, or in niche cases such as fragility dual CI builds on the other side of the tree that are looking for an alternate way of getting stun immunity. A slight loss of attack and cast speed in exchange for a buff in movement speed, all when you take a savage hit, so this only works with life based builds. Very little to say here, other than to mention that I was disappointed the unconditional leech of the Berserker node didn't return. In its previous form it was quite unbalanced and powerful, but it was also one of the few simple ways to get spell leech. This node is still rather undesirable for me, as comparatively to the true Berserker, you get 1/4 its damage multiplier buff in exchange for 1/2 its damage taken penalty. That doesn't seem fair. With the new flat mana regeneration on using a movement skill, the Trickster Ascendant opens up some interesting possibilities. Elementalist / Trickster Ascendant cosplay build? I'm definitely gonna try it. This is not to mention the formidable recovery rate boost, and remember, recovery rate is affecting regeneration leech, energy shield recharge and gain on hit buffs. That's a sizable 50% boost if you just append some poison, ignite or bleed to your skill. The assassin gains some more flat crit and power charge generation, taking a good node and making it even better. It's less flat crit than the true assassin can gain, but, in a strange twist of the Ascendant norm, not conditional compared to the true assassin's need to keep those power charges up. The Saboteur Ascendant has dropped its cooldown recovery confusingly, as this was one of the stats that previously made the node attractive at all. The loss of elemental penetration for mines is also another upsetting loss, as a large point of elemental miner builds is the ease of penetration nodes. The no movement boost is an interesting addition, perhaps usable as an opening salvo against bosses that take a while to spawn in, such as the Zaro or the Val Oversoul, but ultimately, when is it going to be used? Time spent waiting for that damage bonus to kick in, difficult to judge without an on-screen animation, don't forget, is time that could be better spent using more traps or mines. Not to mention that 50% increased damage is very little considering your average trapper or miner is going to have 400% or more on their tree before you even get into their gear. The most disappointing change GGG have made to the Ascendant tree in my eyes is the Gladiator node losing its spell block. Perhaps it's because I recently used this node on my Ascendant Warchief Totems build, but I really feel that the spell block should have been increased, perhaps to 50%, rather than removed. This was one of the few Ascendant nodes that I didn't dislike before, and now I really can't recommend it. Holy Defensive Boost Batman, with 20% chance to fortify a melee hit, you're basically auto-fortifying during normal clearing play, so long as you've got a decent attacks per second. Previously you could have done exactly the same with the use of a secondary skill tied to the Fortify support gem, but not having to manage that means you're going to be moving faster overall. For builds such as Blade Flurry and Reeve, you're going to be moving and hitting so fast that the Fortify effect is going to be up all the time. This node is tankier than it looks when you couple that with the 5% generic damage reduction from taunted enemies, and the Taunt Aura bonuses slot in nicely for team play. The line to talk about here is the Endless Leech. By far this has been one of the most attractive parts of the regular Slayer Ascendancy, so to have access to it on the Scion Ascendant is just fantastic. Worth noting here is that this Slayer Ascendancy node does lack a lot of the raw power of the regular Slayer Ascendancy, having none of the two-handed damage minor nodes, nor the more damage on kill multiplier, though it does share physical reflect protection now. All in all, this is a good node and one I expect to see a lot of in future theory crafting and build videos. I almost missed this one. The sole change seems to have been a buff from 20% to 50% on the power charge generation. Now they may actually be sustainable through totems alone, especially with the fast placement speed of ancestral totems, a common Hierophant Ascendant node skill choice. If you're a crit caster wielding anything but a wand, you could actually just spam ancestral totems to maintain your power charges, if you were so inclined. Not a lot going on here other than the boosted chance to create consecrated ground and a slight elemental damage increase. There was a wording adjustment to reflect the newly announced change of the term status ailments to just ailments. Having the 25% reduced effect of Curse's buff on the Guardian Ascendant node means that you're able to go dual Kikazaru Soul Mantle for a free, well, opportunity cost aside, totem. Had the Hierophant node not existed in exactly the same place, this would have been a great use of the Templar sub-ascendancy, though at least here you're able to go 7-link with a Soul Mantle for spell totems, instead of being stuck with a 4-link additional helmet totem. As with the Necromancer node, the wording of these aura bonuses preclude an Ascendant from being an amazing support build, as they apply once and that's it, no aura bonus stacking. The Occultist is completely unchanged, which makes sense as it was one of the few Ascendant nodes regarded as actually worthwhile on the previous Ascendant tree. The Chieftain was also left unchanged, which was a stranger choice but also an understandable one. It's a niche node and not too powerful at first glance, but it's definitely a great node for the right build. War Chief totems say hey! Overall, I'm very interested by these changes, as they open up the possibility of using the Ascendant for builds that were previously limited to a specific subclass. Particularly the Elementalist, Slayer and Trickster seem like they could be very interesting for the right build. As a big fan of the Path nodes, I'm hoping the 2 skill point bonus makes Uberlab finally more desirable for Scion builds, and we'll see more in the way of tree hopping builds in the future. As for the tree changes themselves, they seem to be headed in the right direction. The Scion Ascendant isn't as bad as it once was, but certainly isn't inspiring an all Scion meta anytime soon. GGG seem to be moving away from the on-kill effects and uninteresting number boosts that have plagued the Ascendant up until now, adding more interesting utility mechanics to the solitary Scion subclass. This is a great thing, but the key problems with the Ascendant subclass still exist. The real problems still stem from the shape and nature of the tree itself. You still get largely nothing, a single skill point and some attributes from your first lab whilst the other classes jump in power. It starts a gulf between the Scion and other classes that is never quite bridged. There are still a lot of conditional effects on the Ascendant tree, which limit its power unfavourably, but any Ascendant that does better at an Ascendancy class's job than the class itself is going to absolutely dominate the meta. The Scion is too well positioned on the skill tree for anything else to happen, whilst the Ascendant chases the jack of all trades scene. The Scion needs choices and abilities that are its own, not a pale imitation of classes who do them better every time. At its best, the Ascendant enables niche builds, such as the Hierophant Bringer of Rain War Chief totems, and imitates but doesn't copy, such as the Raider and its Onslaught bonus. But at its worst, it's just an opportunity to play another class. I'm Mr. North and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, tell me so by liking or commenting and I'll put out more like it. Daily uploads and gaming goodness, subscribe to the channel for more.